Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagatgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu Namasri Etirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swamine Tapaharini. First of all, I think all of us should be eternally grateful to Master Moshe for giving us such a priceless gift. Because I think Kathamrita would rate as one of the most highly readable books. It's so wonderful to read, and you feel so happy about reading it. It's not full of any theological discussions and complicated quotations, etc. Very simple language, and even the most ordinary person can read. In fact, in the Mangalacharan, that's why he said, Sravana Mangalam Srimadatatam. Even if you hear it is enough. You don't have to even read. Even if you're an unlettered person, illiterate, then also it's okay. If you hear, that is enough. That much is guaranteed about this Kathamrita. So it's a very marvelous text that way. But, Kathamrita, I don't know last time whether we shared this idea. This Kathamrita, there are ways of reading it. So the more we develop love and Shraddha and devotion to Sri Thakur, the way we read it will be definite and it will qualitatively improve. My own predecessor who was here, Revered Swami Buddhanandji Maharaj. For him, reading Kathamrita was an exceptional activity every day. It seems, after breakfast, etc., he will go and he will have bath, he will come to the room and close the doors. For the next 1 hour or more, he is totally lost to the outside world. Then he will sit in his bed. I think over the bed itself, we have some kind of a small cupboard like where books are arranged. In most of the ashramas, that's how sadhu's bed, almost on that itself is a small cupboard like where you can keep books, personal books. So with great, you will light a dhoop, show it to Thakur, and take out that Kathamrita. He will simply immerse himself for the next 1 hour or so. I don't know how many times he must have read, God knows. So, actually, every time you read, it gives a very different feeling. Every time you'll find something new in it. This is a small personal anecdote. I'm also doing the Bengali version for our own ashrama devotees online. Offline and online both. It's done here and people can join online or it's put up in the YouTube and they see later. It's not live all the time. It is going, yes, through YouTube it is live, not like Google Meet. They can't talk to the person who is reading it, but they can listen online. So somebody told me, Maharaj, for the third time, last 3 classes, you have dealt with the same portion. Somehow I did not mark exactly where I left. It's weekly once, and sometimes 1 week there was no class for some reason or other. So somehow that Bengali, that particular copy, had not exactly marked where I had left. So then he sent me a message, well, for the 3rd class you have been doing the same portion. Then I wrote back, did I repeat the same or you find anything new nuances, new words? He said, every time you brought out some new ideas. So it's like that. The more you delve into it, you'll find that it's extremely rewarding and it's spiritually invigorating. It will kind of, give you new energy and so on. So as we discussed, Master Moshe met Sri Ramakrishna under very strange circumstances, but then it was life-transforming experience. The first experience, his life was transformed. The first time he met Sri Ramakrishna. It was on a Sunday in spring, a few days after Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. It was February 1882. That Yam met him for the first time. Sri Ramakrishna lived at the Kali Badi, the temple garden of Mother Kali, on the bank of Ganges at Dakshineshwar. Yam, being at leisure on Sundays, had gone with his friend Sidhu to visit several gardens at Baranagar. As they were walking in Prasanna Banerjee's garden, Sidhu said, "There is a charming place on the bank of the Ganges where a Paramahamsa lives. Should you go there?" Yam asserted, and they started immediately for the Dakshineshwar temple garden. Probably Nikilanji did not want to reveal the whole truth here. It was not that M was in a casual, leisurely holiday mood or anything like that. He had gone to his nephew's house virtually to put an end to his life. There was such tremendous disagreement between his wife and his mother. Finally, he thought that the only way to solve is to end his own life. So along with his wife, he had gone to Baranagar, where his nephew lived. And during that period, suddenly one day both of them visited a number of gardens. Towards the end of the evening, he said that, would you like to visit? So he asserted, and they came. As I said earlier, normally people would say that, we have seen enough of all that, let's go back. Because he was not in a mood at all. He was in a mood to end his life. Where's the question of his spending extra time with so much energy, visiting more and more new gardens, etc. All those things don't really occur. But as I said, it was destiny. He was destined to meet Sri Ramakrishna. It was destiny that his life would change forever. It was destiny that he would leave behind something immortal, something forever, for eternity, for future mankind. Everything was kind of packed in that one single incident of his meeting Sri Ramakrishna. Obviously, it has extraordinary significance. So obviously, he went there. They arrived at the main gate at dusk, went straight to Sri Ramakrishna's room. And there they found him, seated in a wooden coach, facing the east. The smile on his face, he was talking of God. The room was full of people, all seated on the floor, drinking in his words in deep silence. See, everything, every little detail is so important. When you enter Dakshineshwar, normally you don't go straight to Sri Ramakrishna's room. That's its one corner. When you come to a Kali temple, first you go to the temple. You would have gone to Kali temple or the Shiva temples or the Vishnu temple, but he went straight to Sri Ramakrishna's room. And he saw Thakur was talking to devotees. It was full of people. Of course, it's a small room, probably about 15, 20 people or 25 people it can hold at best. So it's not a huge crowd. But then, of course, it was a different ambience in his room. Yam stood there speechless and looked on. It was as if he was standing where all the holy places met, and as if Sukadeva himself was speaking the word of God. Imagine, he went there, see the first impression, the lasting impression. It stood all his life. He saw Sri Ramakrishna, and he was, as usual, talking about gods, talking about something very spiritual. He stood there speechless, and he felt as if Sukadeva himself was expounding the Bhagavata. As I remember what are the circumstances under which Sukadeva expounded the Bhagavata. Parikshit was facing a death sentence. He was to die in 7 days. Nobody could tell him the highest truth or what he should do in the remaining time so as to really conquer death. At 7 days, he knew he was going to die, but he wanted to know whether there is anything he could do in those 7 days. No one had a clear answer. Then our Sukadeva came. So similarly, here was a person who had come to really end his life, and he's meeting Sri Ramakrishna and is completely immersing himself in his words. So obviously there is a parallel, there is something similar. So obviously he was in a different mood. The impression was something long-lasting and probably something permanent. Not only that, as if Sri Chaitanya was singing the name and glories of the Lord in Puri with Ramananda, Swarup and other devotees. So again, another great incident. So when your mind is really prepared, when you have come, every person who came to Sri Ramakrishna's room did not feel that way. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna himself says, sometimes people come with their friends. They do not know anything about this place. They sit for some time. Because many of those who used to come to Sri Ramakrishna, some of them were very, very serious. They could come only once in a way. Whenever they came, they spent quite a lot of time. They won't go so easily. Who would go away from the presence of Sri Ramakrishna easily? Obviously, they all would stay. All their doubts, they would keep, they would accumulate all their questions. And when they come to Sri Ramakrishna, they will get everything cleared. So obviously, those who came were in no mood to go. But the friend, he knew nothing about Sri Ramakrishna. So he was, even now and then, he's pinching or he's elbowing his friend and asking, when will we go, when we will go? Finding no answer, he would say, no, I will go and sit in the boat, you come. You see, satsanga is, everyone can't tolerate satsanga like that. Sri Ramakrishna himself says there are certain type of worms. They thrive only in something very dirty and feces and things like that. You keep them in a nice, beautiful place, they will die. They can only thrive under such circumstances. Sri Ramakrishna has that famous story of that young lady who had come to sell fish. It was late, she had missed her way, it was too late to go back. And then she was accommodated in a nice house where the lady of the house arranged her bed in a room full of sweet, fragrant flowers. But after some time she came and saw that this fisherman, young lady, she was from the fishing community, she was just tossing in her bed, unable to sleep. What happened? Why? She was feeling so restless. Finally she said, you bring me my fish basket. And it was brought. She sprinkled some water with the fish smell emanating, and in Sri Ramakrishna's language, bhosh bhosh kare ghumiye. She was snoring heavily and she was sleeping. So it is not possible for everybody to even withstand. Sangha is not so easy to pierce your heart. So obviously, if he feels so much, imagine how prepared he was for something like this. So as if he was really fully ripe for such a transformation. That's why it is always, unless the time comes, unless it is ripe, whatever you hear also it will not. But somewhere Sri Ramakrishna himself says, Sune rakha bhala. It's good to hear. Then later on when the time comes, Mone pudva ha sunechi. You'll remember, oh, I heard so. So you'll connect and it will start working. So he says, at least you can listen. Even if you can't understand straight away, it doesn't matter. At least you can hear, so that later on, when the occasion comes, you'll remember, oh, I heard so. I heard it like that. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, when hearing the name of Hari or Rama once, you shed tears and your hair stands on end, then you may know for certain that you do not have to perform such devotions as the Sandhya anymore. Then only you will have a right to renounce rituals. Rather, rituals will drop away of themselves. But often people come with these questions. Oh, should we do Shraddha? Should we do this? Oh, I don't believe in all that. So it's all laziness, trying to avoid, trying to take a easy going approach. No, that's not that. Everyone has to start from formal worship, Vaidhi Bhakti, do all that properly. Through all that, our devotion, our love for God, etc., will slowly develop. You can't get away with all that. For the first time, I did only once in Belur Math. I was asked to do Saraswati Puja. I was a brahmachari and the great Bharat Maharaj was the manager of the Math. So obviously, the pujari, the main pujari of the main temple, would take this brahmachari to Bharat Maharaj for offering pranams. So Maharaj asked, Acha, something like, how will you do the puja, etc. in Bengali? So very, what should I say, with great boldness, I said, with great bhava and things like that. He clearly told me, do everything very meticulously and properly. Bhava, etc., it's personal. But when you do a Sarvajanin puja, when you do for everybody, it's very important you follow the rituals, you follow the system, you follow everything. There you cannot suddenly say that like Sri Ramakrishna, I'll first place the flower on my head and then offer to mother. I will feed the cat with luchi and then offer to mother. No. There when you do it, a Sarvajanin puja for the benefit of everybody, a community puja, you have to follow all the rituals meticulously. In your own individual personal puja, in your own room or wherever it is, you can do as you like. So it's very important. That's what Sri Ramakrishna says. You have to follow the rituals. You have to do all that initially. But when the time comes, when you utter hearing the name of Hari or Rama once, even hearing, when you shed tears of joy, when your hairs stand on end, when you feel that horripilation, then rather rituals would drop off themselves. You don't have to give them up forcefully. Because Ramakrishna gives beautiful examples. You know, like a palm tree, when the branch is becoming, slowly becoming drier and drier, if you pull it, it will leave a big mark there. But if you allow that to drop off by itself at the right time, then it won't leave a mark there. It will just fall off. Even about wounds, he says, when it is drying, if you peel off that, the surface and the place, it will bleed and it will leave a mark there. But when it's fully dry, it will fall off by itself. So rituals also cannot be just like that given up. So Vaidhi Bhakti, formal worship, etc. are quite relevant and meaningful for beginners. Of course, later on, when the time is ripe, when it's mature, you can certainly give it up by all means. Then he says, then it will be enough if you repeat only the name of Rama or Hari, or even simply Om. Just repeating the God's name is enough. You no longer have to follow any rituals or any formal way of worship. Continuing, he said, the Sandhya merges in Gayatri and Gayatri merges in Om. Those are all highly significant words with full of meaning. Sandhya, I'm putting it in one way. There will be other shades of meaning. Someone who has studied this much more deeply might even come up with other explanations. See, Sandhya is the most exterior or external form of observance, pure ritual at that time, in Sandhya. Then from Sandhya, when you go to Gayatri, it's at the next step, you can say, where you are really uttering a very sacred mantra, which is well known, which is a very ancient one. It has a specific meaning. It's upasana. It's a way of worshipping a particular deity, Gayatri. So it's for the awakening of the dhi or the intelligence. Gayatri, the real purpose is dhiyo yona prachodya. may the Dhi be awakened. So it's for the awakening of the Dhi or the higher intelligence, and that is addressed to mother. Then after that you go even subtler, even deeper, where it is just only Om. Om has no particular deity addressed as. It's not Mother, it's not Shiva, it's not Kali, it's not Durga, it's not any other Vishnu. No, it's common to all. It's the just below the highest idea of Advaita. When in Upanishad say Pranava is the Dhanu and all that, there are it's a beautiful verse about all that. So the first step is rituals, namely Sandhya, etc., which you do regularly. Then you start doing only the Gayatri. It merges into Gayatri. Gayatri is again, it's addressed to a particular deity, so to say, and then it's done with a particular idea for the awakening of the higher intelligence. And from there, you go even deeper, even to a more subtler level, where just you chant Om, Om. And there's no particular God who is addressed to by this syllable Om. It covers everything. Something very sacred, something almost bordering on the idea of non-dual meditation or non-dual practice or something that you can say. So that's the next, but all you can call it as any practice. Yam looked around him with wonder and said to himself, what a beautiful place. What a charming man. How beautiful his words are. I have no wish to move from this spot. You are simply captured. After a few minutes he thought, let me see the place first. Then I will come back here and sit down. He wanted to go around the temple garden and then came. As he left the room with Sidhu, he heard the sweet music of the evening service arising in the temple from gong, bell, drum and cymbal. Could hear music from the Nahabat too at the south end of the garden. The sounds travelled over the Ganges, floating away and losing themselves in the distance. A soft spring wind was blowing, laden with the fragrance of flowers. The moon had just appeared. It was as if nature and man together were preparing for the evening worship. See how beautifully he puts it. Obviously, in the temple, they were blowing the gong, the bells, and drums were being sounded, also cymbals, etc. These are all the human effort, the man-made. Just to match it, the sound of wafting over the Ganges water, losing themselves the distance, music, fragrance, moon appearing. So it seemed as if a combination. Nature and man were together worshipping, preparing for the evening worship or arati. Yam and Sidhu visited the 12 Shiva temples, the Radhakanta temple, and the temple of Bhavatarini. So as soon as they came, they didn't go. They first came to Sri Ramakrishna's room. And from there, they went to all these places. Probably as if Sri Ramakrishna is really the way to go to either Bhavatarini or the Shiva temple, Shiva himself or the Vishnu. He is the central figure, the central spirit. Going there, you learn how to go to Kali, how to go to Shiva, how to go to Vishnu. So it's very significant. So he went there first. Normally anybody would have visited the temples. So even to go to all those temples, you need first a clearance. Or he would show you the way how to approach all these gods and goddesses. And as Yam watched the services before the images, his heart was filled with joy. Actually, later on you would learn through the conversations, Yam was not at all given to ritualistic worship. He was more drawn towards Advaita. That's why several times during this discussions with Sri Ramakrishna, this topic would come up, how Thakur would again and again tell him how important it is for him to accept all this. Everything happened, but he was, initially at least when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, he was deeply into that kind of a faith or a belief. His philosophy was more leaning towards Advaita. But yet, he was straight away introduced to the most formal ritualistic worship, evening arti, with conch shells being blown and cymbals being beaten, lights being waved. So you cannot think of a more regular ritual than an arti that is performed in the Kali temple. A person who had Advaitic leanings was first brought here as if by providence to show that climb down, go step by step, accept this. Slowly you will go where you want to, but you can't ignore all this. Not only that, even Sri Ramakrishna's Advaita master, Totapari, used to make fun. Sri Ramakrishna used to take the name of gods and goddesses during Arati. He would clap his hands. Hattali diye Bhagavanir naam. Clapping the hands and taking the name of God. He was very fond of that. Then Todabari used to ask, "Kya aap yahan roti ठोकते हैं क्या? Are you preparing chapatis? What are you doing?" The very same man, finally he went to drown himself in Ganges because of kind of incurable colic pain. He walked across the entire the breadth of Ganges. He could not drown himself. He went and reached the other shore. Whole night he had kind of walked, and when he landed on the other shore, he was it was totally transformed person. He understood the meaning of Mother Kali. He came back, did Sashtanga Pranam. He was transformed. Whatever was due in his life, the little fulfillment that was left undone, that was not yet completed, that got completed through Sri Ramakrishna's intervention. So he learned the power of Mother. What Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Brahman and Shakti are abhed. They are like the obverse and reverse of the same coin. In so many ways you explain. So obviously, everyone who ever came to Sri Ramakrishna completely got fulfilled, and then only they could go. Similarly, this Master Shai, Mahendranath Gupta, was watching the services before the image, and his heart was filled with joy. On the way back to Sri Ramakrishna's room, the two friends talked. Sidhu told M that the temple garden had been founded by Rani Rasmani. He said that God was worshipped there daily as Kali, Krishna and Shiva, and that within the gates many sadhus and beggars were fed. When they reached Ramakrishna's door again, they found it shut, and Brinde, the maid, standing outside. Yam, who had been trained in English manners and would not enter a room without permission, asked her, "Is the holy man in?" So he was formally asking for permission to enter the room. And when they replied, "Yes, he is in the room." "How long has he lived here?" "Oh, he has been here a long time." He was many years there. He came right at the time of the installation ceremony, 1855-56, and this was 1882. 26 years has already been there. Does he read many books? Books? Oh dear, no. They are all on his tongue. Yam had just finished his studies in college. It amazed him to hear that Sri Ramakrishna read no books. So that's all we understand about knowledge, through books, through degrees, through colleges, through universities. That's how we should. All these are all only apara vidya, whatever we learn through books, through universities and all that. But if one has gone into the realm of Paravidya, if one had gained the transcendental knowledge, everything else is revealed to him just like that. If you listen to Sri Ramakrishna's conversations, if you read them, you are amazed by his depth of knowledge. A person who had not studied anything, virtually someone who had never even entered a school, such deep knowledge about scriptures, about Gita, about everything, about the highest philosophy, Advaita, Vishishtadvaita, other schools, much about Tantra, anything you talk. So, there are various ways of gaining knowledge. One need not, in fact, how much one can study, tell me. In our life, how much we can really study and learn. Even if we study for several hours a day, how many books can we read? So much is to be learned. But if a person has access to a higher wisdom or a higher knowledge, if he has contact with the divine, everything is revealed to him. Whatever is required, just like that comes to him. He only has to, it's like someone having access to a huge storehouse of knowledge. Whatever the person wants, just like that he has to access, that's all. It comes. So obviously, how would Yam understand all that? He had not really understood Sri Ramakrishna. The first time he's meeting him. Slowly he's trying to understand, trying to explore. So he says, he was amazed that Sri Ramakrishna did not read books. Perhaps it's time for his evening worship. Maybe go into the room. Will you tell him we are anxious to see him? It was still, very formal, obviously. But then they go right in, children. Go in and sit down. Ab jana, jaake baito. You go inside and sit. There's no need for any formality. Entering the room, they found Sri Ramakrishna alone, seated on the wooden couch. Incense had been just burnt and all the doors were shut. As he entered, Yam with folded hands saluted the master. He had not learned to do a proper pranam, etc. by that. It was the first time. So just like a foreigner, he was doing a formal namaskara with folded hands. That's all. Slowly he will learn how to fall at his feet and worship and all. That will happen later. He was still in the initial stage. Then at the master's bidding, he and Siddhu sat on the floor. Sri Ramakrishna asked, "Where do you live? What's your occupation? Why have you come to Baranagur?" Yam answered the questions, but he noticed that now and then the master seemed to become absent-minded. That was nature. He would ask, he would just like that talk. But first of all, it was not necessary for him to give his entire mind to all these existential details. He was neither interested, nor was he capable of even absorbing all that. Obviously, when people come, unless you talk to them, they would feel not so comfortable. So he would talk. But then, with no time, one would have observed that every now and then he becomes completely absent-minded or lost to the external world. Later he learned that this mood is called bhava, ecstasy. You learn much more during this period of tutelage under Sri Ramakrishna. It is like the state of the angler who has been sitting with his rod. In this example, this story is taken from Sri Ramakrishna himself, what Sri Ramakrishna used to say. The fish comes and swallows the bait, and the float begins to tremble. The angler is on the alert. He grips the rod and watches the float steadily and eagerly. He will not speak to anyone. Such was the state of Sri Ramakrishna. He was completely absorbed like that. Like a person sitting with a fishing rod. It's coming and it has taken the bait, just waiting at the right time to lift it so that the fish is caught completely. So totally absorbed. Later, Yam heard and himself noticed that Sri Ramakrishna would often go into this mood after dusk, sometimes becoming totally unconscious of the outer world. As he started spending more and more time with Sri Ramakrishna, it occasioned to observe all these and much more. In fact, somewhere later on you will see, it was the 11th day Yam was staying at Dakshineswar with Sri Ramakrishna. Obviously, initially, whenever it was a holiday, he would come. Later on, he would take leave and come. He would come during holidays. So more and more, when he started enjoying the company of Sri Ramakrishna, benefiting from it completely, he would spend more time. Yam is asking, perhaps you want to perform your evening worship. In that case, maybe take our leave. go up. You want to do your evening worship. Still he was in that. He was thinking, they're all holy men, means they have so much of rituals. They have to do something at the Sandhya, in the morning, in the afternoon, and all that. So perhaps he was a gentleman, so-called gentleman. So he thought that I should tell him that if you want to do your worship, we will take leave, you can do. Sri Ramakrishna still in ecstasy. No, evening worship? No, it's not exactly that. Because he had gone far beyond all that formal worship. So he says, Ramakrishna used to describe his own state as Galita Hasta. When he went to Ganges, when he took water to offer Tarpan to the departed, the water would just, you could not just hold it, it would just escape through the fingers. Why? Because he was beyond that state of doing anything formally by way of ritual. He had reached such a state, because even if he wanted, it was not possible for him to be part of all that. The water would automatically get drained from his hands. You could not do that. I think many of you would have seen when people take bath in the Ganges, they take water and there itself they offer to the departed some kind of a tarpan like. But he says Sri Ramakrishna, the water would escape. He called it as Galita Hasta. From the hand, it will escape. It will pour out. After a little conversation, M saluted the master and took his leave. He took his leave and Sri Ramakrishna said, come again. Again, somebody wrote a big article on these words, come again. And the Swami often talks about this, is come again. Why did Sri Ramakrishna say that? So it's not that you come once and that's the end of it. I mean, depending upon your own power of imagination or how you feel about it, all these words are explained that way. Come again means, yes, you have to come again. You have to come again to get liberated, to come again to get your doubts cleared. You come again because I'm offering you that kind of protection, assurance that I will do everything for you. There's a hidden assurance is there, a hidden kind of allowing him to surrender to him. Everything is probably hidden. On his way home, M began to wonder, who is this serene looking man who is drawing me back to him? That is the power of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna himself says, I think one Brahma Samaj devotee, probably Shivnath Shastri or somebody, I don't remember the exact name, they said, Moshai, apni to erakam, akon kutush kore kamda deben. See, you are like that. When you will suddenly sting, nobody knows and they are gone forever. So Ramsa says, I don't want you all to become renunciates or anything. Be where you are. From there itself we can do everything. But he says, we know. When you will suddenly sting, gone. Like that, this is what has happened. He has come, he has met him, it's over. Such an irresistible attraction, drawing me back to him. I think probably most probably, of course we can check the reference later. Most probably it is Gaurima. Gaurima, from a very young age, she had left home, she went to several places, she dressed herself as a renunciate, as sannyasini, was wandering everywhere, somewhere. After several years, some relatives brought her back to home. No question of marriage and anything. She had turned to a life of sadhana and all that. And somehow, I think our Balram Bose was trying to bring her to Sri Ramakrishna. She would say, no, I have seen, because she had met so many holy men and all that. She was initially not interested. No, I am not interested. If he wants, let him draw me to himself. If he is so great, why should I go and see? So when that day, she was not coming at all. And one day she had done the worship, I think she was having some small image or anything. After the worship, suddenly she found that the feet of that deity, they were literally living there on that plate or something like that. She was so stunned by that experience. And then that day, she acceded to Balram's request to go to Sri Ramakrishna. When she went there and met Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna was with a string. He was trying to bind and attract, pull it towards him. She was stunned by what she saw. She had said, if he has powers, let him attract me to himself. Sri Ramakrishna was with string, he had tied something, he was trying to pull it towards him, or exactly whatever she had said. And not only that, when she offered pranams, she probably lost virtually her consciousness because she swooned virtually, because she saw that very feet which had become living in her worship that morning, that were the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. See, if you show, Sri Ramakrishna did not show miracles like bringing out a necklace or a vibhuti or anything. He did a different kind of a miracle. Those were really fit for a higher spiritual life, evolution. They were attracted in a marvelous manner. See, it was a lifelong transformation for Gaurima. She had went, she had searched, she had roamed about everywhere. Finally, she found that ultimate shelter in Sri Ramakrishna, and that's how he did it. She was not a person who could be talked to, argued into, convinced and all that. She had to be given something very tangible, a very powerful spiritual impetus, spiritual experience, and that's how. Do you think that anyone would go elsewhere after that? The way he attracted her, whatever she had imagined as attraction. And then that very feet which had become living, which she was stunned in the morning after the worship, the very same feet she was offering pranams. Obviously, that's something, an unbelievable experience. So like that, when they come to Sri Ramakrishna, he says, who is drawing me back to him? Is it possible for a man to be great without being a scholar? That was his doubt. He was a very, very intelligent person. In fact, he had a chance to go and study in study in UK, in London. He had got an offer, an admission. But because he could not afford it, he didn't go. Otherwise, he could have gone abroad to study. And he was schoolmaster, he was headmaster and all that. So they believed in the bookish knowledge. But here is a person who never reads books. How wonderful it is. I should like to see him again. He himself said, come again. I shall go tomorrow or the day after. So when Sri Ramakrishna said, come again, it's not enough. This kind of a fleeting darshan once, to come again, and again, then only you can come forever. Then only you will get transformed. Then only you will be liberated. Then only all your doubts would get cleared. So many things Sri Ramakrishna said in those words, come again. So that's how the first meeting of Master Moshe with Sri Ramakrishna was so extraordinary, life transforming. So years ago in Vedanta Kesi, they were publishing a series of articles. First meeting with Sri Ramakrishna. So there below, the editor had written a small note. When we read this, we all feel that when is my first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna going to happen? Something like that. So obviously, through Master Moshe, we feel that kind of a connect as if we are meeting Sri Ramakrishna himself for the first time, because it is so powerful, this discussion and the description. So let us dwell deep into it as we go forward. The second visit we shall take up next month. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Probably, I think, Prithvish, we have 4 or 5 minutes left.
Yes.
If anyone has any
Yeah.
questions, they can ask quickly. If you don't mind.
Yes, friends, any questions? We have 5 minutes left. Maharaj, one question from me. So, if you just tell us till what page you have completed, so people can then, if they want, they can go and read.
Yeah, first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna at the beginning,
Okay.
first 2 pages in Gospel.
Okay, first meeting with Sri Ramakrishna. Friends, any other questions you have?
Slowly, they should kind of warm up to this class, and then probably slowly they will ask. It's too early to ask them to ask questions, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yes, and also the call will also end very suddenly. So that's why people are aware of this. We would have this issue initially in our first few classes. That's why people are hesitant to ask.
Doesn't matter. No need for. I'm not keen. People should ask. If they have anything, they can ask. Otherwise, it's fine. Okay. So we'll continue next time then.
Maharaj, I think there is a question. Somebody was asking something.
Yeah, Anish wants to ask. What is that, Anish?
Maharaj,
yes.
Please, Namaste Maharaj, please pardon me if I am asking something not desirable to many of the devotees. Thing is that, Maharaj, how can we differentiate in between you were reading like Sri Ramakrishna Deva was absent-minded in between. How could we distinguish it between a psychological kind of state and because when referring to other people who are having psychology background, studies background, they are telling that every kind of trance, these kind of ecstatic mood is having a synonym or name with regard to psychological treatment or something. They are having ailments or something. So how can we distinguish it between the exact bhava and...
See, the point is, we really don't have many people whom we can see like this in that kind of a bhava or mood or anything now. Obviously, it's very difficult to see for ourselves now. But if you see, that's what the difference between samadhi and sleep. Samadhi is also that kind of going into complete nothingness, so to say. And sleep is also like sleep and samadhi are same. You go to sleep and you get up the same person, however foolish or whatever you were. After samadhi, you become beyond compare, that kind of an intelligence. So if you see people who are suffering from psychological disorders or who need psychiatric treatment or things like that, and if you compare Sri Ramakrishna, in spite of all that, the moment he comes down from that state, what is his state of awareness? How alert he is. And he talks extraordinary sense. Have you ever seen one word in Sri Ramakrishna's conversation which is not syncing with the situation or whatever it is? Anything disconnect, anything disorderly? Most logical, very sharp, extremely alert. Obviously, this has got nothing to do with let people say anything. What is that? We don't care. Let them read the gospel and see for themselves how alert a person he was. The Master Moshe was far more critical than all these people. Not only that, a great doctor, Mahendralal Sarkar, even went to the extent of putting his finger and touching his eyeball. Will you ever allow anyone to touch your eyeball? Within 1 centimeter or so, if it goes, the eyes will automatically close. Even for oneself, it is normally not possible unless you make someone to hold the eyelids and then only. Otherwise, you can't touch it. But he was in such a state, the doctor could touch it. And still there was no feeling in Sri Ramakrishna. So obviously these things, what do psychologists know? They deal only with the body at the most a little of the mind. And there are people, the entire West is even now believing that brain and consciousness, brain and mind are one and the same. So obviously, there's no need to prove all that, and it's not possible to prove also. If the point is, if a person is spiritually evolved, it must reflect in his life. If you see his life, that is the proof. How does he live? That's why Arjuna asks in the Bhagavad Gita, what are the Chitta Prajna Lakshanas? How does such a person walk? How does he talk? How does he behave? So from their life you understand the depth of the realization or where they are. That is the proof, nothing else.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Jai Ramakrishna.
Jai Ram.
Pranams, Maharaj.
Thank
I
you.
think one more. After some time, Yedumallik's absent-mindedness he has compared. I think has compared. In gospel itself, Yedumallik's my English is not good. I think you can understand.
What is he compared?
No, Yedumallik's absent-mindedness and Thakur's
Yeah.
Samadhi.
Very
When Yedumallik was absent-minded when taking food and all that.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Thakur was extremely alert. He scolded when somebody left his towel behind or this or that. I am always in Samadhi, but yet I never forget anything. What is this? You are so absent-minded, careless. He scolded him. So he was an extremely alert person in other ways. Okay, Juma, anytime the connection would go off.
Yeah.
We have 57 minutes, I think we have
Yes,
finished.
Maharaj.
Huh?
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very
Namaskar.
much. Our regards to you. We
Namaskar.
will talk to you again next month. Thank you.